It's Benzinga, bringing Wall Street to Main Street.
The Federal Reserve's $2.5 billion renovation plan for its Washington headquarters has escalated tensions between President Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, according to Axios. Trump has long been critical of Powell's stance on interest rates and is using the renovation to push Powell out before his term ends next year. Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought accused Powell of misleading Congress about project costs in a letter posted Thursday on X and called for an investigation. The Fed responded with an FAQ page addressing the criticism. Axios reported Monday that Powell has asked the bank's inspector general to review the redesign. The Fed is protected from political interference by law, and a recent Supreme Court order includes a carve-out that temporarily shields it from firings. Removing Powell would not ensure that the Fed board votes to lower interest rates. Millions of federal student loan borrowers face the return of accruing interest as the SAVE forbearance ends under a new directive from the Trump administration, according to CNBC. The Trump administration said the SAVE forbearance will end on August 1, and borrowers must resume payments or face growing education debt from accruing interest. Former President Biden introduced the SAVE plan in 2023 and halted interest and payments for 7.7 million enrollees amid GOP-led lawsuits. The Education Department under Trump now calls the plan illegal and says it lacked the authority to grant 0% interest. The Federal Reserve has asked its Inspector General to review a $2.5 billion headquarters expansion project after sharp criticism from the Trump administration. According to CNBC, Fed Chair Jerome Powell requested the review amid accusations of fiscal mismanagement and cost overruns tied to renovations. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett questioned the lack of congressional oversight, while former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh called the spending outrageous. The Fed defended the project online, citing safety upgrades and modernization needs, and clarified it is not subject to OMB control or taxpayer funding. The CNN Money Fear and Greed Index rose slightly on Monday, reflecting improved market sentiment while staying in the extreme greed zone, according to Benzinga. U.S. stocks ended mixed Monday, with the Dow Jones rising after Trump announced a 30% tariff on all EU and Mexican imports starting August 1st. Inflation concerns persisted ahead of Tuesday's CPI release, with economists forecasting a rise from 2.4% to 2.7%. The S&P 500 edged up 0.14%, and the Nasdaq rose 0.27%. Most S&P 500 sectors advanced, led by financials, communication services, and real estate, while energy and materials declined. Investors await earnings from JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup. The Port of Los Angeles recorded its busiest June in history, driven by a spike in ocean freight as importers rushed to avoid upcoming tariffs on Chinese goods, according to CNBC. Port officials described the increase as a tariff whipsaw effect caused by shifting trade deadlines under President Trump's policies. Containers were largely filled with holiday and consumer goods, following Trump's tariff cut on Chinese imports. Port of LA Executive Director Gene Soroka said shifting tariff timelines are causing unstable freight volumes and increased uncertainty. He expects cargo volume to decline starting in August due to new tariffs, citing forecasts of a double-digit drop through November. Freight firms report retailers are now limiting imports to essentials like school supplies, citing longer transit times and costlier air freight for last-minute needs. Tesla launched its Model Y in India on Tuesday, as the EV maker enters a new market while struggling with declining sales and excess capacity, according to Reuters. The model will sell for $70,000, its highest globally. Deliveries are expected in the third quarter, with Tesla targeting India's luxury EV segment, which makes up just 4% of total car sales. The Model Y will compete with BMW and Mercedes-Benz, not local EV leaders Tata Motors and Mahindra. Tesla opened its first showroom in Mumbai and began taking online orders, importing cars from China for now, as its U.S. factories do not produce right-hand drive models. High import tariffs that often exceed 100% inflate prices, but Tesla continues lobbying for lower duties as India and the U.S. explore a trade deal. Jury selection began Monday in the first federal trial over a fatal crash involving Tesla's autopilot system, according to CNBC. Elon Musk's name drew strong reactions from potential jurors despite his absence from the Miami courtroom. The civil lawsuit stems from a 2019 crash that killed a pedestrian and injured her boyfriend when a Tesla Model S struck them while reportedly in autopilot mode. The plaintiffs allege the system was defective and unsafe. Tesla denies liability, blaming the driver for distracted driving. Plaintiffs' counsel argued Tesla ignored safety warnings and enabled the conditions that led to the crash, while Tesla maintains the vehicle's technology was not at fault. 6 women and 3 men were selected for the jury. Meta plans to spend hundreds of billions of dollars building massive AI data centers across the U.S., according to the BBC. In a post on Threads, Zuckerberg announced that Meta is building several massive AI data centers, including Hyperion in Louisiana, which could reach 5 gigawatts by 2030, and Prometheus in Ohio. He said the company will invest hundreds of billions of dollars to develop superintelligence, with each center named to reflect its enormous scale. Zuckerberg emphasized the unprecedented size of the sites, with at least one matching the footprint of Manhattan. Meta generated more than $160 billion in 2024 revenue, primarily from advertising, and has made AI a central focus of its long-term strategy. Analyst Carl Freund noted that Meta's aggressive investment signals its intent to lead in AI infrastructure. Meta shares rose 1% after the announcement. Meta said Monday it removed around 10 million Facebook profiles, according to CNBC. The company's crackdown aims to make the Facebook feed more relevant and authentic by removing accounts that engage in spammy behavior, including AI-generated content. Meta is introducing stricter measures to promote original posts from creators as part of its effort to improve content authenticity. The company also acted against about 500,000 accounts for inauthentic behavior by demoting comments and limiting content distribution to reduce monetization. The move coincides with CEO Mark Zuckerberg's announcement of major AI investments, including a new supercluster slated for next year. The action comes as platforms like YouTube also move to limit monetization of repetitive, low-quality content. NVIDIA Corp announced it will resume sales of its H20 AI chips to China and unveiled a new RTX Pro PU tailored for the Chinese market, according to Benzinga. CEO Jensen Huang said the company received assurances from the U.S. government that export licenses would be granted. The RTX Pro chip complies with U.S. trade rules and is designed for smart factory and logistics AI use. The chip reflects NVIDIA's effort to retain its market share in China amid strict trade restrictions. Huang made the announcement following visits to Washington and Beijing, where he discussed AI infrastructure and U.S. technology leadership. The resumption of H20 deliveries follows a U.S. licensing requirement that cost NVIDIA $2.5 billion in lost revenue earlier this year. The company has denied that its chips are used by China's military. Google plans to invest $25 billion over the next 2 years to expand data centers and AI infrastructure, according to CNBC. The investment will focus on states within the Pennsylvania-New Jersey-Maryland interconnection, the nation's largest electric grid that covers 13 states across the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Midwest and South. The company will also spend $3 billion to modernize 2 hydropower plants in Pennsylvania. The deal is part of a broader agreement with Brookfield Asset Management to acquire 3,000 megawatts of hydroelectric power nationwide. These investments come as PJM faces growing strain from surging electricity demand tied to AI and industrial expansion. Apple CEO Tim Cook is under growing scrutiny from analysts and investors despite a recent management shakeup, according to Benzinga. Craig Moffett of MoffettNathanson is one of the few analysts with a sell rating on Apple stock. He criticized Cook's lack of product innovation, noting the company has not delivered a transformative new product in over a decade, according to Fortune. He acknowledged Apple's operational excellence, but said its success stems from executing strategies set in motion before Cook's tenure. The criticism follows the announced departure of COO Jeff Williams and renewed calls for leadership better suited to drive AI innovation. Although Apple stock has remained stable, ongoing doubts about its innovation pipeline continue to weigh on sentiment. Apple scores low on momentum and value, but ranks highly in quality according to Benzinga's Edge rankings. Palantir Technologies shares closed Monday at a record high, up 4.96% for the day and nearly double year-to-date, according to Benzinga. The AI software firm has benefited from surging demand for its artificial intelligence platform, with CEO Alex Karp describing the shift as tectonic for enterprise adoption. Palantir beat first quarter estimates in May, with U.S. commercial revenue up 71% and customer count rising 39% year over year. The company reported 139 deals over $1 million and 51 over $5 million. Analysts are split on the stock's future, with Wedbush setting a street-high price target of $160 and predicting a $1 trillion valuation in 2 to 3 years. Palantir will report Q2 results after the bell on August 4th. ExxonMobil shares dropped 1.31% on Monday as President Trump announced a 30% tariff on European and Mexico imports starting August 1st, according to Benzinga. The announcement comes ahead of Tuesday's CPI report, weighing on broader markets with energy stocks particularly lagging. Crude oil prices dropped 1.5% to under $67.60 per barrel after Trump held back from imposing tougher sanctions on Russian oil, undercutting expectations. While natural gas rose, oil's decline drove Monday's stock dip. Analysts warn the tariffs could hurt global growth and energy demand, outweighing any localized gains U.S. producers might see. ExxonMobil's Benzinga Edge scores show strong growth and value, but weak momentum. San Francisco will expand generative AI access to 30,000 city workers using Microsoft 365 Copilot, according to CNBC. The rollout follows a 6-month pilot with 2,000 staff, which showed up to 5 hours in weekly productivity gains. Workers across departments will use GPT-4-powered tools for tasks like data analysis, report drafting, and 311 service requests, including language translation. The AI system is included under the city's existing Microsoft license. Mayor Daniel Lurie said San Francisco aims to be a beacon for municipal AI adoption worldwide.
For all things money, visit Benzinga.com.